For cheap D2R items, visit aoeah.com. You get 3% off with the code ARIAD. Check the link in the description. Hello and welcome to the probably most expensive paladin guide of all time. Although there is hardly anything cheap about this build, I will also show you some more economical options, but even if you are not interested in building it yourself, you can learn something about the mechanics or just enjoy this item porn. Briefly about the build itself, it's a PvP Zealot optimized for a melee discipline with special rules. The skill tree is very simple, 20 points each in Zeal, Sacrifice and Fanaticism to maximize damage and attack rating. In addition, Holy Shield is also maxed, as is the synergy Defiance. This gives us the best possible block and defense values. With the attribute points, we will then increase our dexterity until we get the 75% block chance with Holy Shield. Further points still increase our attack value, but other bonuses are more efficient here. So the remaining points get spent in strength and vitality. Ultimately, you're aiming for around 4000 life points. Now let's see what mods we're looking for on the equipment. We definitely need enough increased attack speed to reach maximum speed. With a Berserker Axe that's 60% IAS to reach the last breakpoint. With an Ettin Axe 80 to 90% IAS, depending on the aura level. And with a legendary Mallet, we'll even need a total of 120% increased attack speed on weapon plus equipment. We also want to get to 50% damage reduction, because that's the cap. Other important affixes are % increased damage and maximum damage, attack rating and defense, as well as life, strength and dexterity. Chance of deadly strike is also great. Most people play with at least 40%, preferably more. When looking at the items, we will see the affix of self-repair very often. Ethereal weapons have 50% increased damage and armor pieces 50% more defense. In order to be able to use them, they must have the self-repair mod on them, or you have to socket a Zod rune. So let's go through all the item slots. Let's start with the probably most expensive one, the weapon. There's a very simple reason why good weapons are so expensive, they're just so rare. While you can vary the armor parts a bit and match the items to each other, we want some certain affixes on the weapon. We are looking for the Cruel mod, which gives up to 300% increased damage, and the Fool's mod for attack rating and max damage per character level. The third prefix is either Mechanists for 2 sockets, or Masters for up to 250 attack rating and 150% more increased damage. So with Cruel and Masters mod, even up to 450% increased damage are possible, like in this Berserker Axe here. But 2 sockets are more popular, because a second low rune has more effect on the damage. With the suffixes, we want to have attack speed, so we don't need too much IAS on the equipment. And since the weapon should be ethereal, self-repair is also important. The last suffix then does not matter too much, but if you could choose something, you would of course take even more max damage. So you see, 5 out of 6 possible affixes are kinda must-have for the weapon to be really strong, and the chance of getting an ethereal one is really small. This Ettin Axe here has slightly more maximum damage and is even faster, as we have seen in the breakpoint table. But the advantage of the legendary Mallet is the high minimum damage. It gives a strong and constant damage output. Weapons like this would surely sell for several 100,000 forum gold. A perfect one would probably be worth millions. Since I also wanted to mention a few cheaper options, here we have an ethereal death cleaver with a Zod rune. The damage is of course much weaker, and since the Fool's mod is also missing, the attack rating is lower as well. But at least this unique Berserker Axe has an extremely high deadly strike chance. The rune word Death is also a cheap solution and deals some brutal damage, but we miss some attack speed here. Overall, we will have to adapt the rest of the equipment to the weapon to get maximum speed and damage reduction. Grief, by the way, also works of course, but is banned in most tournament formats. Let's continue with the helmet. Here we clearly want to have the Visio mod, which gives an attack rating bonus per character level. And we also need 2 sockets. plus self-repair, because ideally also the armor pieces should be ethereal. But here it is not so dramatic if one or the other is not ethereal. This diadem, for example, would also be a good option despite the lower armor value. Plus 2 skills can also be very nice to increase damage and speed. Such helmets can also be worth several 10,000s of forum gold. For the armor slot I choose an ethereal shaft stop with a Zod rune, because I easily get 30% damage reduction here. But there are also far more expensive alternatives, such as this ethereal sacred armor here. Even an ethereal blue one with high defense roll, self-repair and 2 sockets is very rare, because only few people pick up such loot. Moving on to the shield, a J-pod is quite handy to use the open sockets and have the great blocking qualities. A sacred Tark has the best block chance here, while a vortex shield has the highest defense value. A yellow shield has the advantage that it can give you more defense by being ethereal, and can even have plus 2 to paladin skills, but just a maximum of 2 free socket slots. Also a possibility for very high damage, a phoenix shield, but then we have no socketing options at all. Then I wear upgraded Gore Riders for another 15% deadly strike chance. Those are not even expensive. Of course, you could also make use of some very expensive ethereal boots, but the 100 more defense value ends up making a difference of just 1000 defense in total. The belt is the Verdungos for the damage reduction, it's not that expensive either. You have similar options as with the shoes here, if you get in the damage reduction somewhere else. Then I've got some blood recipe gloves, attack speed and attribute points are great, and crushing blow also adds some damage. In the ring slots we prefer attack rating, life and attribute points. High rolls are really expensive. The amulet can gladly give plus 2 to paladin skills, so the jewelry slots give you lots of attribute points, which ultimately means more life or more damage in the end. But the totally cheap but still very useful angelic set is definitely a strong alternative here, and the high attack rating bonus from the ring can even be used twice. Another option that should not be forgotten, High Lord's Wrath. On the one hand, the 20% IAS can help you reaching the breakpoint you need, and there is also a juicy deadly strike bonus. With this amulet, it is easily possible to get up to 100%. As you have already seen, we use different runes and jewels in the sockets. Low runes increase deadly strike chance in the weapons, bear runes are socketed to add damage reduction, and IAS ED jewels are of course used for getting maximum speed. In case that we got enough speed and damage reduction yet, we could also make use of some nice yellow jewels, with affixes like damage, attack rating and stats, or maybe min or max damage. Such jewels can also be very expensive. I guess a perfect one could easily break the 100,000 forum gold mark. Measured in real money values, items like in this video would cost 10,000s of dollars. So this shows you how crazy the high elite of Diablo 2 PvP actually is, and of course that also counts for several collectors and traders. I'm quite sure no casual player will ever spend so much on a single item, probably not even on their complete account. Finally, CTA and Spirit in the change hand of course, and the inventory is filled with max AR life charms. So my Zealot build ends up having 4000 life, about 8500 damage, 20k attack rating and over 30k defense. We have maximum attack speed and maximum damage reduction. I can push the attack rating with the angelic set, it adds about 10k more AR, but this reduces damage and block chance. So playing the set permanently, it would be better to put more points into dexterity, which in return means less life or less damage. If I put on all the ethereal items, I can get up to 42k defense value, but then it becomes difficult with the attack speed and damage reduction. It might work if you play a fast weapon and everything else is socketed with bear runes. When using the Ettin Axe, I could play the Diadem and High Lords, At Fana level 27, the 80% attack speed is already enough, so I have many options to apply the damage reduction and to implement some ethereal parts to increase the defense value. If we want to use the angelic set here, we can take IAS in the helmet and use Verdungos and Shaft. What's nice here is that no further IAS is required on the shield, so we can also play a Phoenix here. The setup with the Ettin Axe is nice because it's so flexible. Using Death Cleaver, we automatically have maximum attack speed. We reach the breakpoint just by the gloves, so we can very easily get enough damage reduction, use Phoenix or work with the set jewelry. Last but not least, the Death Axe. Without attack speed on the weapon, we have to get the whole 60% by the equipment. Since the gloves give 20, we need 3 jewels in the open sockets. So if playing Verdungos and Shaft stop, we have to place them in shield and helmet. This setup does the most damage, and with Phoenix you could get even more, but then it becomes critical with the IAS and damage reduction caps. However, if damage, defense and attack rating are superior, it can also be okay to play the second speed breakpoint. As you can see, there are several ways to build up a high-end Zealot, and since good weapons are so incredibly rare and valuable, you will take what you can get and build the rest of the setup around the weapon. So the weapon basically decides everything. Your power, your weaknesses, your flexibility. And if you build cleverly, you can even defeat a more expensive paladin. Of course, I don't have all the items shown, but I am motivated to build a Zealot online, not starting with the most expensive kind, of course. Here you can see what he looks like so far. As he does not have any powerful rare items yet, a Crown of Ages will have to be fine for now. I recommend you to always keep your eyes open for expensive stuff when farming. Take care guys, and may the loot be with you.
I can't carry anymore. Follow me. Come on. Thanks. Goodbye.